friends, and welcome back. And if you're new here, my name is Kim. Today I'm in the kitchen and I'm getting ready to make some homemade enchiladas. I'm going to start with the enchilada sauce. And if you caught my video earlier today, it was on the Mexican Spanish rice. That's what we're also going to be eating along with this dish tonight. If you'd like to go check out that video, you can go check it out in the playlist, and I'll also leave a link below. And I will also be leaving a recipe below for anyone that wants to try this dish. So let's get going. Okay, so I just have a medium-sized saucepan here, and I have it on medium heat. And I'm going to add 1/4 cup of vegetable oil. And then we're going to add 2 tablespoons of all-purpose flour. And I'm going to get this all stirred up. Get the flour all mixed in real good so it's not so lumpy. And we're just keeping it on a medium heat for right now. Okay, I'm now going to be adding 1/4 cup of chili powder. Get some of these lumps out real quick. Okay, that looks better. Okay, here's our 1/4 cup of chili powder. And we're going to put that in and we're going to stir real good. Get this all nice and mixed up. It smells good already. Okay, I'm going to turn my burner up to about a medium high now, just for a couple minutes so we can get this going. We'll get this bubbling. We're just going to keep on stirring. We want to get all that chili powder incorporated into that oil. Get all that flour mixed up. I'm just going to stir it real good. Just takes just a minute. It's just about there. And this will start to thicken up here in a little bit. Okay, let's see. Just about there. Starting to bubble now. Okay, we're pretty good. We're just about incorporated. This is a really easy enchilada sauce. It only takes a couple minutes to make. You can put it over anything. You can put it over burritos. You can put it over enchiladas. You can put it on your tacos. Okay, now it's ready. Okay, now I'm going to add an 8-ounce. This is an 8-ounce jar of tomato sauce. This is my home can, but you can just use canned tomato sauce. And that's 8 ounces. We're going to get that nice and stirred up. We're bubbling pretty good now. Okay, and then I'm going to add 1½ cups of water. Let me get the rest out of this jar real quick before I get the water in. I want to make sure we get all that tomato sauce in there. Now, if you want just a little bit runnier sauce, you can add about 4 more ounces of tomato sauce. It'll make it just a touch runnier. You can always add 8 more ounces too, and then just add just a touch more chili powder if you need to make a little bit more sauce. I've done that before. Okay, now I'm going to add 1½ cups of water. I'm going to get that all stirred up. And be careful not to splash yourself. This stuff will stain. I just happen to wear a white shirt today, and I'm sure I will get it all over me. I did not even think about it. Okay. Just going to stir this and get it back up to a boil again. Okay, let's get everything mixed in real well. Get it heating up again. And then we're going to add some spices. It's just about there. It's starting to thicken. These enchiladas are really easy to make. You can put anything in them. You can make beef enchiladas, you can make chicken enchiladas, you can put pork in them, you can put turkey in them if you want. You could just do them cheese. You can do whatever you want to inside. Okay, now we're going to add some spices. I'm going to add 1/4 teaspoon of cumin. And then I'm going to add 1/2 teaspoon of garlic powder. And then I'm going to add 1/2 teaspoon of onion powder. And then I'm going to add 1/2 teaspoon of black pepper. To get the container open. Okay, let's give that a stir. Mix those spices in real well. It is smelling really good. It's just about done. It's really, really quick. This is some yummy sauce. I bought store-bought before, and I just don't care for them because they seem to have a lot of vinegar. Okay, and now we're going to add 1/2 teaspoon of salt. You can use whatever kind of salt you have. I'm just using the salt that I have handy. Okay, let's give it another good stir. It's all mixed, starting to thickening up really nicely now. Just want to stir it so it doesn't stick to the bottom. Remember, we're still over medium-high heat now. And we're just about done. And this sauce is one that, after we take it off the burner and let it sit, it's going to thicken up a little bit. So if it's a little thin right now, don't worry about it. Okay, this has been about 5 minutes later. Okay, so, okay, you can see how much it's really thickened up just in the 5 minutes of heating it back up to a boil. See how nice and thick it is now? And it's going to thicken up after we take it off the heat too, so. And if you want a thinner sauce and it gets too thick for you later, you can always add a little bit of water, thin it out. Okay, let's set this aside. We'll turn off the burner. Okay, now I have a pan. This is a large frying pan, and these are white corn tortillas. You could use white or yellow corn tortillas, whatever your choice is. And I have, in this pan, I have about 1/4 inch of vegetable oil. Okay, I also have a paper plate, and I also have some paper towels so we can drain the tortillas. Right now we're going to work on the tortillas. We got to get them softened up so we can roll up the enchiladas. If you try to roll them when they're fresh out of the package, they're just going to crack on you. Okay, so I just have this over like a medium-low heat. You don't want it real hot, because if you put hot tortillas in, or if you put tortillas in really, really hot oil, you're going to end up with a tostada or a taco shell. So we're just going to throw it in this oil real fast. And we only need about 30 seconds total. Maybe about 10-15 seconds on each side. The whole idea is just to soften up the tortilla. We don't want to cook it. We're just going to soften it so we can roll it later. And I have the plate and the paper towels ready, so when I take this out, I can set it onto the paper towels. And as I'm frying up my next tortilla, I'm going to blot the oil off of this tortilla so I can get all the oil off of it. So I'm going to speed this up so you don't have to watch all this. Now I'm going to make a 9x13 pan, so I need 12 to 15 tortillas for that. It'll make 12 to 15 enchiladas. If you're going to make a smaller 8x8 pan, just do half. I would say probably 6 to 8 for a smaller 8x8 pan or 9x9 pan. Okay, so we're just going to get these warmed up real quick, and you can see I'm putting them on the paper towel, and then I blot them in between with paper towels on top. Make sure you get all that excess oil off, because we don't want oily enchiladas. Okay, so just about done. Okay, and we're going to set those aside and just let them cool. Okay, now I have the same pan here that we just fried the tortillas in. This is my large skillet, and I dumped the oil out of it because now we're going to get the hamburger cooked. I'm just going to make a plain old beef and cheese enchilada. This is some hamburger I had frozen in my freezer that I had pulled up this morning. It's nice and defrosted now. So we're just going to get it mashed up and get it browned up. See if we can mash it up real good. We'll get it cooking. This is a really easy recipe. People are probably scared of making enchiladas, but don't be scared. You can always make an enchilada casserole. If you don't want to roll up enchiladas, you can just make layers like lasagna. You can just put your meat and your cheese, and then put your tortillas and your sauce, and just throw that in the oven too. It's really easy. I've done that before. It's quick and easy. Okay, here I'm going to add I'm adding a half a teaspoon of garlic salt to my hamburger. And I'm also going to add about a half a teaspoon of black pepper. Got to make sure the inside is just as good as the outside. And just continue to get this chopped up and get it cooked. And I'll see you back in just a minute. Okay, it's been about 5 minutes. The hamburger is nice and cooked, nice and brown. It's all cooked now. Now there is a lot of extra grease in this pan. So I'm going to go ahead and drain the grease off, and then I'm going to put this hamburger on a plate right now so it can cool off so we can get to rolling the tortillas. Because the hamburger is really, really hot right now. But see all that extra grease in here? We don't want all that grease in our food. So I'm going to go ahead and drain the grease, and I'll set the hamburger aside. Okay, here I just have a 9x13 disposable pan. These are our tortillas that have been sitting on the paper towel, and I blotted off. Here's my hamburger that we cooked all up, and it's all drained, and it's starting to cool off. It's all still a little warm. Okay, now here's the enchilada sauce. This has been sitting for about 10 minutes, and it's nice and thick, and it was off the heat. So it's nice and thick. If you run a really thin sauce, just add a little bit more water to it, or you can even add chicken broth. Okay, and this is just some Colby Jack shredded cheese. You can use any kind of cheese you want. You can use Mexican cheese, any kind of cheese you want. Cheddar cheese. Okay, let's start assembling these enchiladas. I'm going to take about 2 ladles full, and just enough to cover the bottom of the pan. We just want to make sure the whole bottom of the pan is just covered lightly with a little bit of sauce. We just don't want the enchiladas to stick to the bottom of the pan, and you don't want dry enchiladas. So I'm just going to smooth this out and get it all in the edges. Okay. And then I'm going to put some gloves on because the sauce is a little warm. The hamburger is a little warm still, but I've got a couple cuts on my fingers from being out in the garden, and the chili powder really burns. So I'm just going to go ahead and put some disposable gloves on. And we're going to grab our first tortilla that we softened, and we're going to set it down, and I'm just going to put a little bit, maybe about 3 tablespoons of hamburger in it. And then about the same with cheese, about 2 or 3 tablespoons of cheese. Just as much as you think you can fit in there. You can use chicken, you can make any kind of enchilada you want, or you can just leave them plain cheese if you just have some kids and don't want to put anything else in it. And I'm just simply rolling them up, and then I'm going to push it up here, and we're going to get the next one, and we're going to do the same. And we're just going to repeat that. And 1 9x13 pan, usually a pound of hamburger, is perfect for it. I can usually get almost all the way to the end before I run out of hamburger. And if I do run out of hamburger, I just make some plain cheese ones. But 1 pound of hamburger is perfect for a 9x13. Okay, just roll it all up. Got my hamburger and my cheese in here, and I'm just going to push it over here. And we're just going to line them all up. I'm going to speed this up because I don't think you guys want to watch. Sit here and watch over and over and over. And don't worry, you can see I've got one that the tortilla tore. Don't worry about it. I'm not a perfect cook. Nobody's a perfect cook. Once it's covered in cheese and sauce, nobody will ever know. It'll still be delicious. Okay, so I'm going to get them all rolled up. It looks like I'm going to get 14 in here, and the last one I'm going to do just cheese because I ran out of hamburger, which is fine because I actually prefer just cheese. My husband will eat 3/4 of the pan, so. Okay, and now we're going to take the rest of our sauce, and we're just going to pour all the rest of the sauce over all these tortillas. You want to cover all these edges because the edges will get really, really crisp in the oven, and we don't want them crisp. We want them nice and tender. We want them cheesy and ooey gooey. They're going to be cheesy in the middle, and then we're going to top them with some cheese. And I'm just going to ladle it over these. And we're just going to make sure we get all the tortillas covered up. Now this is a really thick sauce. So like I said, if you like the thinner sauce on your enchiladas, go ahead and add a little bit of chicken stock or add a little bit of water. It's not going to hurt it, and it's not going to change the flavor. And if you want to double it, go ahead and add another can of tomato sauce, and then maybe just a little bit, but taste it, maybe just a little bit more chili powder. But I've doubled it before and with the same amount of chili powder, and it's been exactly fine. So, okay, and then I'm going to pull my Colby Jack cheese out again. And we got to have cheese on the top of our enchiladas. We like ooey gooey cheesy. If you haven't noticed by my past videos, we tend to eat a lot of cheese. It's probably not good for us, but it tastes so good. Okay, so I'm just going to cover the entire top of this. Make sure we get cheese all over. And I have a preheated oven. My oven is set to 350. And what we're going to do is we're going to get, after we get all the cheese on here, we're going to cover this with aluminum foil. And then we're going to put it in the oven, and we're going to bake it for about 45 minutes or until it's really nice and bubbly. And remember, everything was already pre-cooked, so all we got to do is just warm it up. But here it is, fresh out of the oven. It's nice and ooey gooey. I've let it sit for about 10 minutes just so it's not too hot. And my husband is standing right next to me, waiting patiently. I told him he has to wait until I get a picture of his plate before he could have his food. So he's sitting here waiting patiently. He says it smells good. He's already been munching on the rice that I had made earlier. And if you want the recipe for that Spanish rice, I will put it in the link below, and you can go watch the video for it. And I'm going to put all the ingredients and all the recipe below for this one also, for the enchiladas. And I hope you guys get to try it. It's really good. My husband actually went back and had seconds, so he approves of it. And he loved the rice. The rice is a little spicy. But the enchiladas are great. You can put the leftovers in the freezer. You can have them for lunch the next day. You can have them for dinner down the road in a couple of days if you don't feel like cooking. So here we go. I'm just putting some rice on his plate. So I gave him two big enchiladas and a nice heaping of rice. But I just want to thank everybody for following along with me today, and I hope you enjoyed this video. And if you do happen to try this recipe, please leave me a comment below on what you thought of it and if you liked it. So thanks for watching, everyone, and I hope everybody has a great day.